Hi, sir. How are you?
Good, Sai. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, sir. Thank you very much for firstly for accepting my invitation and accepting to be on my show.
It's my pleasure.
So I thought to tell about you and the work that you are doing to my audience. So can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. This is Sarbjeet, and I'm in tech industry, mainly software for last 26, 27 years. Moved here to US in '94, and yeah, since then I've been in tech industry. I've worked with a bunch of companies. Many of your listeners might know that Visa is very global name, Visa credit card company. I worked at McDonald's headquarters. That was my first job to write software for McDonald's Corporation for doing their marketing campaigns. And then Visa, then Commerce One, not a very familiar name, but a very big company here during dot-com days. And then after that, I joined uh, PeopleSoft. From there, I went to EMC, which is a very purely tech company, and then VMware, another tech company, and then Rackspace, and then went back to Oracle. So, yeah, I've been around and I've served customers in many countries, and hundreds of customers in 10 plus countries, actually. I visited them over there and worked with them. Yeah.
So you are
I,
from
as,
India.
yes, I'm from India, from Punjab. I was born and raised in a small village in, in Punjab, Jalandhar district. And I went to three colleges to finish till my master's. And I was pursuing my PhD in Chandigarh when I moved here. I didn't finish my PhD in economics. Actually, I'm not a CS major. That's another thing I tell youngsters that I'm a economics major, but I've been writing software since '94. So you don't need degrees to write software.
So 20 plus years you are into IT. So
Yes.
what is software for you?
Software is a mechanism to build automation, to build systems, to uncomplicate things, to digitize systems, taking the physicality away. Now we can ship the documents, you know, at the speed of light to another country. We can move the money at the speed of light to another country. We can move the designs of, you know, where we are producing the parts of car or airplane. We can design that collaboratively with people from all around the world. We can create music collaboratively. We can find new artists digitally. So it's all over the place. Software for me is a way to create systems and improve the abstractions in this world. So it's all about abstractions.
So economics is something which is related to accounting and calculations. So how that background help you in developing your skills?
Yeah, economics is a mainly study of scarce resources and unlimited needs and wants and desires. Um, so how do you fit those resources into the meeting those needs, right? And software is not much different either, right? So um, we we try to apply the means what we have, the computing power, the storage, and the networks uh, to the problems at hand, right? And then our goal is to make it more economical, means like feasible, right? That we're not running out of money. We're operating the systems, so economics plays a big role in that. And another um, uh, thing what we talked about yesterday briefly when we talked about, by the way, for your viewers, this is a funny story. Yesterday we started recording, and on Sai's side, uh, he was in his balcony recording. Maybe the people at home were sleeping, I don't know why, but he wanted to have a natural background. But bunch of dogs came in India and then started barking, and then we stopped the recording. And we covered this topic yesterday, so that's a funny note. Yeah, so economics plays a big role, I think, uh, in every facet of life. I'm a systems thinker, and I always think like a family is a system, this room is a system, a body is a system, and the company is a system, right? And software systems are systems as well, and they have internal as well as external factors which impact the functioning of that system. So it helps us analyze the effects and all that. And we study that all in that in economics. When you study economics, most of the economists will tell you there's a phrase they use, other things being equal, right? They'll say that. That means we are making a lot of assumptions when we create solutions or theories, which we implement at some point. So in software, we do the same thing. We make assumptions when we write software, like, okay, people will use it this way or that way. And then sometimes those assumptions are true, sometimes they're not. So it's always the sort of balancing act of, how much we want to build upfront or how much we want to tweak on the fly. Yep, economics plays a big role. I was talking about everything as a system, so that think some of that thinking I developed during my economics studies. Actually, I had econometrics as my specialty when I was pursuing my PhD. Even in a master's, I studied econometrics extensively. That is mathematical economics, and that's what data science is based upon these days. Where we talk about that a lot, right? So, yeah.
So you say everything is a system, everything that is happening is a system. So information technology is about communication. It can be communicating with machines or communicating with human beings. So you did that for a long time in your life. So in different positions you were in VMware and you were in McDonald's, you building software. So all these positions, what that taught you?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. That's a big and important question. What it has taught me is several things. Amongst the main ones is that people are a very important part of the whole equation, right? So, eh, peop we still so sometimes we forget we still build systems for people, right? We don't build systems for machines. We are not serving machines. Machines are supposed to serve us, and many I think product designers, in my world we call them architects, right? In software, they tend to sort of like forget that sometimes, right? So I think the study of humans, anthropology, the culture is important, like which culture you're deploying, what applications are you writing generic enough software for the whole world, or are you letting those people in different countries tweak the software according to their culture, if you will? There are so many languages in the world. We have been seeing that problem play out at Facebook in big time. There's they have to do the content moderation. Say like Facebook has to do that, right? So that the toxic content is not on their platform. But most of the people who started Facebook and also who work at Facebook here, they are from US, and even if they are from India, they speak like maybe one or two languages. One, of sure, of course they do, maybe one or two more languages than what their native language is. So it's content moderation is just a huge problem, and there are some languages which are, nobody's watching that what content is being put out there. So I think study of the culture while building systems, that is very important. And when we actually did a big project in Germany, um, we flew a team of 50 people to start this project at Siemens. They call it Siemens headquarters, Siemens building in Munich. At the Munich airport. They have a big presence, big building there next to it. They gave us training in German culture. I mean, that was an eye opener for me. That was in 2001 time frame, um, 20, 21 years back. And it was an opening experience for me. They showed us that if you present some idea in a meeting in Germany and nobody says anything, and then same thing happens in the US, you present an idea in a meeting and nobody says anything, those two things totally mean different things. I was like, what? What is that? They say if nobody says anything in Germany, that means they loved your idea, right? And if nobody said anything in US, that means they doubt your idea, they don't like it. Because people in US, they're more um, conservative in their they're not blunt. They won't tell you to your face or you suck or your system doesn't work. But in Germany, people are very blunt. So that was just one example I'm giving you from that sort of class, if you will. Um, and I'm glad we got that class because once we were rolling off that project and the way Germans were behaving with us, and if we didn't know that aspect, we would be so mad. Like, why are you saying these words to us? Like, they were very harsh. They will say your system sucks, it doesn't work. But in US, you don't talk like that in business context, right? And I worked in Brazil, in Israel, and some many other countries actually, Italy, and you name it, um, and UK, Ireland, and whatnot. Every culture is a little different, right? So different continents have different sort of bigger cultural norms, and within that continent, the countries, even within the country, the states have different cultures, right? So yeah, I think understanding people is very important when you're building systems, and it some people are being naive when they think that they can build one system to serve the whole world, and we are seeing the side effects of that in the shape of riots and people getting killed in Myanmar and a lot of mob lynching and stuff happening in parts of India due to Facebook and what content people put out there. And yeah, I'll stop there. I can talk about this for hours.
So, what will be your thinking when you see new or when you hear something that you didn't hear before? Which means you're ready for the change. You're experiencing something that you didn't experience before. So, how will be you ready for something that is completely new for you?
So how do you deal with the new things? That's what your
Yeah,
question
it
is?
can be
Yeah.
projects or it can be clients or it can be anything.
Yeah, dealing with the change. Yeah, that I think that in this domain in high tech and software, it comes with the territory. It is constant change, right? So you you after few years in it, you know that it's going things are changing very quickly. I mean, even in real life, even in the economics of the countries is changing. The way we do business with the each other is changing. So change is the only constant. How do I adapt to it? I actually learned from a lot of mentors, like people who were ahead of me. I'll talk to leaders in tech and sit with them and grab a lunch or coffee with them. I still do whenever I get a chance. And also, on the flip side, I also sit with other people who want to pick my brain, and youngsters. They want to use some of my time for their mentorship. I do that, and I get mentorship from others. So one time, a NetApp exec, I spoke to him, and he said something very profound. He said, when we see the problems, right, that he was describing their culture in the company. He said, when we see the problems, we run towards the problem, not away from it. So yeah, things like that, learning things like that from people. Like when you see a problem, you have to run towards the problem so you can tackle it quickly rather than running away from the problem or not moving at all. So it's um, wisdom from others, and of course you adapt with the changing circumstances. And when you are single, you're doing something different. When you get married, when you have kids, and you have responsibilities, more responsibilities, and things change. Um, yep.
Yeah. So yeah. So what? How you are able to do so many projects? Which you didn't did before. I mean, like just now
Yeah.
you gave answer for it, but every project is different from other. So how you are able to do that?
Oh, in the work context, actually, I was talking in the life context, um, normal general life. But in the work context, actually, I'm very curious. It's a curiosity actually. You want to learn about other things, right? So when you're writing software in the beginning, when I started writing software, the people who write the applications and people who focus on the persistence layer, which is database, they were separate people. Now, these days, they are becoming same. Um, but earlier it was different DBAs and all that stuff. So learning how DBAs work, and then also like always talking to them, what do you look for in the optimization on the database side, and how do you fine tune the SQL and all that stuff. You learn that, right? And then gradually you learn other things, from people who are producing PRDs, product requirement documents, we used to call them, right? And what needs to be built, and the strategy people. Um, and then gradually, because of having the economics degree, right? Uh, I have studied economics, as I told you, the master's, and I was even pursuing PhD in that. So having that mindset helped me to gravitate towards more like business people as well, like talking about ROI, returns on investment, and TCO, total cost of ownership, kind of concepts with the business people. So I think that helped me getting into different sort of facets of systems, if you will, and that curiosity. Actually, I usually say that once you're a coder, you're a coder for life. You know, and not everybody can be a coder, because some people find it very boring job, and people who love it, they just forget to eat when they're coding. Like I was like that. So when I was coding, um, and I was newly married here when I came here. When I started my job, even before my job, I started here. I would code at home because I was coding a little bit in India while I was working in Chandigarh with a think tank. Um, and it just, I used to forget time, you know, like dinner time is like 8 p.m. let's say, and it's 9 p.m. It's 10. I'm still go, a few more minutes, and then and then not even at night you're coding till 3 a.m. sometimes. Um, so that's it was my passion actually, if you will, and I just oh, I always push the boundary, push, and one example I always one incident I always remember is what changed the trajectory when I came to US. I still wanted to finish my PhD in economics, right? This software thing was just side thing, like some temporary money for some time maybe. Um, but then when I was working at McDonald's headquarters with AT&T software engineers, very seasoned people, and part of our system was not performing well because the system, the front end and the main engine was written on VB, Visual Basic, and the string processing was very slow, and it was very data intensive stuff. Um, so what I did was I went to Compu USA store or CompuServe, I forget the name of the store. There used to be stores selling software and machines and everything. They're all gone now. I went there and picked up a CD of Delphi. Delphi was just similar thing to um, uh, Visual Basic, RAD. We used to call it Rapid Application Development Tooling, right? So I picked up the Delphi, which was based on Pascal language, and I knew that Pascal is faster in string processing, right? And so I brought that in, built a I also knew that I can plug in a DLL into our application, so written in a different language, so I can mix the two languages, if you will. Some parts are in this language, others are in that language. So I built that DLL for string parsing and plugged it in just on my own without even these people knowing. I was experimenting, right? And the string processing was, I think 80 to 100 times faster, much faster. And we were able to benchmark that. And then when I showed it to AT&T engineers, they said, "Wow, you did that." Because I didn't have that much confidence, to be honest with you, in the beginning, that maybe this line is not for me. I was passionate about economics and all that stuff. But when this started saying, "Oh, wow, you did that. We never thought about that," blah blah blah, and that gave me the morale boost. And I said, "Well, yeah, I can do utilize at some point in your life that you can do anything what you want to do." And then I found that software was the thing, the tools with that I can do anything I want to do, create on my own, and that's what put me on into this line of business.
So what is your deep understanding about coding?
Coding is a tool for creation, like creating stuff, right? Creating systems. It's like a paint for a painter, paint and paintbrush, and we have machines and IDEs, and frameworks to write code in. So it's totally like the frames a painter paints on almost. So that's how I see it. Um, it's a beautiful thing, and I usually tell kids in schools and colleges that whenever I get a chance to talk to them, and I do that more often now, that everybody should learn coding, not because they want to be a coder, they have to have coding career, but coding teaches you how to think differently, think like systems think, or it helps you appreciate the systems thinking, if you will, and that helps you solve all kind of problems in healthcare, in supply chain management, in politics, in other parts of life.
So yesterday I asked you a question. I want to repeat that question again. So uh, machine is emotion or logic? I mean software.
Machine is what? I'm sorry, repeat that again.
So software is a emotion or a logic.
Or is software emotional logic? Actually, I think it's both. Again, we recorded some part of it yesterday, but because of the dogs, we canceled it. Yeah, it's both. And on that note, I follow a bunch of not bunch out there, but there are a few software philosopher, if you will, right? Grady Booch, Martin Fowler, Uncle Bob. Those are the three names coming to my mind right now. If your listeners want to Google them and find out, just look at them uh, on YouTube, their lectures and all that. They will talk about software like it's poetry, or it has emotions, um, systems, or ma- um, manifestation of. Actually, I just tweeted that last night. Whatever we do, algorithms are manifestation of our human feelings in many ways. Whatever we want to do, we put that in code, right? Um, Code helps us talk to machines, and machines help us do perform things in real life, fly planes and drive cars and whatnot. Uh, and yeah, it's both.
So yeah, so yesterday I also asked about AI. So something. So can we able to create a human being in AI?
Yeah, I think we're sometimes feel like this, that we are as away from the AI or general AI or artificial general AI, AGI, uh, as we were 20 years back or as you were 30 years back. This gap is always there. Um, in many times I sort of rebuttal this point with others who are very enthusiastic about AI and they think it's going to change everything and it'll mimic the human brain. I kind of debate with them that no, it won't, at least for the next 30, 40 years. Maybe at some point it will, but I also read a lot about brain whenever I can, the research going into it, like trillions of synapses, billions of neurons in our brain, and how they interact and how the networks become active and then they diffuse and they go away, um, based on our thoughts and what we have learned yesterday and how we um, if you think about it, most of the data science right now is like, okay, it, all the data we are collecting, machines are all about remembering things, like from data, right? That's what data is. Like, you know what happened yesterday, last week, or whatever, right? Or you can extrapolate what will happen in the future. But human brain is very good at forgetting some things and but remembering others. I mean, that's how our memory works. Um, what did I eat 5 days back at lunch? I don't remember it. So it just unremembers a lot of stuff and it just picks up the important things. And that kind of contextual learning and it is not there in machines. Uh, our human brain can build um, sort of systems in construct systems in like 11 dimensions. Um, People have proved it, or scientists have told us that we can think in 11 different dimensions at the same time about a problem, or create a model around that in our thinking, if you will. But machines can only think zeros and ones, which is two sides, if you will, or two dimensions. So we play with two dimensions so fast that it looks like it's magical that it can think a lot, but it can't. At a point, it's zero or one, and maybe with the advent of better algorithms and better coding mechanisms um, in quantum computing, we might be able to sort of be closer to the state of not zeros and ones, but in state in between those two states as well. That's what quantum does. But I think we're far away from it. And another argument I usually use to sort of have that rebuttal is that it's yes, machines are improving, but human brain is improving as well. If you go 1,000 years back, normal people on the street could not do basic math. Five times five. They would not even know what that is, or complex math. Or now we we can comprehend a lot more as humans. Different concepts, different mechanisms of hand to sort of eye to hand to eye coordination is much better. People who play games a lot, they can do this quickly. People couldn't do that early on, right? So human brain is improving as well. It's not just machines are improving. So um, I I think AI is a good mechanism for going into the next level of automation. Uh, the machine learning part of AI is automation of coding, if you will, like what people we used to write code to put brains into the machines. That's machines are dumb by on their own. When you get a PC, it's dumb, and you install operating system. It can do few things, but then you write software, you get software from somebody else, or you write that yourself, and then you're putting brains into machine, if you will. And by the way, many times, like I'm from a small village, and all my family members were not computer literate, and they will not know what I do, and they'll say, "Oh, you drive computer?" I said, "Yes, I drive computer." And it's like car, right? Yeah. Oh, so the graduates say, "Oh, do you use computer? Like people use in the bank." So yeah, I'll say yeah, but I don't. I don't operate computers. I put brain. Then I said I put brains in computers, and it's like, oh, you're full of yourself, right? You're bragging. But that's what it is. Programming is putting brains in the system, right? So, and the AI ML stuff is by watching things, computer having cameras now, eyes, by watching things and or by looking at existing data, it can program itself. That's what it is. Uh, but it can only handle fixed number of permutation combinations, right? Um, it will not know when a new context gets injected into the system, right? What we call features in data science, machine learning, like there are features that which column has what kind of weightage, if you will, when you're doing analysis. I usually say this that a system is as smart as um, the number of variables it can take into account while making a decision. So more number of variables a system can take into account while making a decision, smarter system it is. And data science today, it starts choking after few number of variables. If you inject into a model, that your accuracy goes down big time. And that's, I think we're trying to do the nested sort of machine learning models now, but it's still very primitive. We may get close to what how humans think and all that stuff at some point, but it will take decades. But having said that, there are things machines can do much better than humans, right? Uh, uh, because they're fixed in behavioral patterns, right? So flying a plane, like planes fly on autopilot more than maybe 90% of the time. People are not flying the plane, machine is flying it. The cars will be same way. Like right now they are not, but soon enough, in a few years, the cars will be operated by the machines, and the people will just sit in it most of the time. Um, so so machines have a lot more utility or value to provide going forward and offload that work from humans. And it's natural progression actually. Um, when people talk about the jobs going away and all that stuff, I usually say that like, I wonder what people thought when somebody invented wheel or a lever way back, during Stone Age almost. So, my God, this wheel is going to take our jobs away. People who move stuff on their back, now they can move on a wheel, right? Uh, so, or when somebody invented fire, they must be scared of fire. Like, oh my God, this is going to kill us. But we technology is such a thing, we can't stop it. We have to accept it, and we can regulate it through the laws and all that, but we can't stop it. Technology is like fashion. You can never stop fashion. You're never done with it. We're never done with technology. That's how I think. um, with that, I think, yeah, as I told you, I have 11 o'clock and we're 2 minutes away. Any last questions you have? Last
Yeah,
question. Yep, something.
yeah. My last question is, can we, as a software engineer, do you think that we are able to create software which connects and which will be useful for other species on this planet?
Come again, please. You have to repeat the question. Sorry, you can very cut
Uh,
from the other thing.
uh, as a software engineer, do you think that we as a human beings can able to create software which is useful for other species on this planet?
Oh yeah, definitely. We are um, already creating software for sort of marine world and for other sort of animals and tracking dogs with putting these IoT tags on them so we can find them quickly. So for other species on this planet, yeah, we can and we should. And unfortunately, the way our systems are constructed, going back to economics, um, is that most of the market behavior is driven by the incentives. So if the market is big enough, people will invest in it, and then you will get technology in that domain. And sometimes you might think like, hey, there are a lot of disabled people in the world. Why can't we create these technologies for them? It's sad that that these companies see them as a market, and it's not that big enough market, and they don't invest much money in it, even though the technology is there, but there are not enough customers for them. So yeah, we can and we should help other species, and I think that's a good question. By the way, you're doing great. Actually, I watched some of your interviews, and you think pretty deep. And uh, we had that dialogue yesterday before we started recording yesterday, which we didn't use. Um, keep doing the great work, and uh, keep focused on what you're doing. I like what you're doing. Thank you.
Can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Yeah, sure, you can. Yes, definitely.
And also, can I put this video and audio clip on my podcast, website, internet, social media, everywhere with your permission?
Yes, you can, but tell me where you're putting it. So then
Yeah,
just run it by me after you produce it, so you can do that. Yes.
yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Sai.